CBS's Jeff Glor has the story.
Known around the world as a surfer's paradise and for its giant waves, Mavericks in Northern California was relatively calm over the weekend. More than a dozen surfers were riding waves of 12 to 18 feet when they suddenly found themselves fighting a wall of water up to 30 feet.
This wave just came barreling through like a freight train, and everybody was trying to get out of the way.
Many were wiped out, including 30-year-old Jacob Treddy. In the moments after the rogue wave hit, only his green board was visible.
He was probably in the water for about 12 to 15 minutes, maybe a little bit longer, but that whole time he was being run through like a giant washing machine.
On this, his first trip to Mavericks, Treddy, who is an experienced surfer, found himself pinned under, unable to escape.
It sounds like he got held under for 2 waves and popped up face up.
When Treddy did finally surface, he was unconscious. He was pulled from the treacherous surf in a daring rescue by Russell Ord, who was nearby on his jet ski. Ord, a freelance photographer and firefighter from Australia, brought Treddy to shore, where he helped revive him. Treddy was flown to Stanford University Medical Center, where he remains in critical condition.
That was Jeff Glor reporting. The man who pulled off that rescue was on yesterday's edition of The Early Show. Russell Ord says it was luck that put him in that position. He had no idea jet skis are banned at Mavericks.
It's pretty hard to believe. Like you can see they should be banned for tow surfing because it's a paddle wave and it should stay a paddle wave, and you don't want to have tow surfers buzzing out in the lineup. But to have 2 rescue skis there in days like that is critical.
Treddy's brother told us he's been more responsive and that he's been talking. And check out this surfing stunt off Hawaii's coast. Last week, professional surfer Mark Visser made history by completing a night ride on waves measuring up to 40 feet. Adding to the show, Visser had a special LED light built into his surfboard and flotation vest. In sports, Super Bowl fever is gripping millions of football fans.
It was like 40 feet high.
Surfers scattered, including Jake's family friend.
Perhaps he should have thrown his board aside and just dove deep.
But Jake thought he could make it, and he almost did.
I was caught right at the top, like the worst place you want to be. I mean, the worst place you want to be at Mavericks.
Carnage.
It shoved him off his board. Falling far into the whitewash below, he finally surfaced, but was then slammed again by a second massive wave.
Just a face full of water. That's all I remember. It was just big crash just right on my head.
Jake was knocked out cold, tossed around like a coin in a washing machine for he doesn't know for how long. Finally, he floated to the surface, lifeless, face down, right next to those jagged rocks.
Russell Ord, a photographer, raced into the churning foam on a jet ski to grab him, fearing the worst. But then, a surprise.
I could not believe that he had a pulse when we dragged him up on the beach. There's no way.
A glimmer of hope that it wasn't too late.
Maybe every 20 seconds he'll have a tiny little cough, so there was something there, but his eyes were rolled back.
Airlifted to a hospital, Jake was put in a coma to slow his brain's need for oxygen. And slowly, he came back. Doctors now call him a miracle. Jake calls Russell an angel. But as a young father, he now calls Mavericks a thing of the past.
I might give Mavericks a rest for a couple years, you know.
You don't get many passes here. Jake barely escaped with one. For today, Lee Cowan, NBC News, Los Angeles.
Jake Treddy is with us now exclusively, along with Russell Ord, the man who rescued him. Good morning to both of you.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Jake, let me start with you. I mean, you know, life is good. You're there, you're surfing these 15-foot waves. It's a beautiful day. Do you get, when you're in a location like that, any warning that these monster waves are rolling in?
No, not really any.
So when you first looked up, and again, it's frightening enough to see the size of that wave on videotape. I can only imagine what it looked like from water level. When you saw that thing in front of you, what are you thinking?
I'm just thinking, I got to get out of this, or it's a life-threatening thing that's going to happen to me.
I guess you have a split second to decide whether to try to get deep and get under that wave or ride it to the top. Did you contemplate trying to get under it?
It seems like everything happened so fast that, yeah, now that I look at the footage, I probably should have gone under it. But there was somebody behind me, and there was people to the side of me, and I didn't want my board to hit them.
You know,
so I decided to go over it.
When you ride up the face of that wave and get to the top, what you described as the worst possible place to be, it looks as if there's a moment you're basically in free fall. You get launched by the wave and come down. What do you remember about the ride?
I remember that I got stuck at the top, and it launched me all the way to the bottom of the ground. I ended up pushing off the bottom and coming up to 2 following waves, crashing on my head, and then after about the 3rd following wave, I just blacked out. I don't know if the board hit me in the head or the wave actually knocked me out. I blacked out.
Russell, let me bring you in here. You know, you're on a jet ski, which, by the way, I understand you're not really supposed to be in that area, but you were on a jet ski. You're taking pictures. First of all, how did you avoid getting smashed by those same waves?
What was that, sorry?
I was just saying, how did you on a jet ski avoid getting smashed by the same waves that hit Jake?
On a jet ski, you're fine. It's really safe, and I can just move out to the safety area. It's really safe.
You're not only a photographer, you are a trained firefighter, so you've got some rescue training as well. When you saw all these surfers being sucked up into the power of that massive wave, did you have a sense for how bad this was going to be?
Oh yeah, it was a pretty sticky situation. Like there was about 4 or 5 guys that got swamped by those 2 waves. So for me, it was just a quick squirt on the jet ski, and I'm out of there. But I wouldn't want to be in their position.
And when you came across Jake lying face down in the water, I mean, you have to act quickly, and you must have never thought that this was going to turn out the way it turned out.
Oh, that's just the way, you know, things happen, really. So I'm just thankful that Jake's in the studio right there talking to us. So, I mean, it's worked out for the best in the end.
Jake, I know that you had a chance to speak by phone with Russell a couple of days ago. Anything you'd like to say to him today?
I just would like to say thanks, buddy. I'm alive because of you. I get to see with my family and see my friends, and hopefully we get to hang out one day too. And I just want to say God bless to your family, and thank you very much.
Real quickly, Jake, you talk about your family. You got a 4-year-old son. You know, what do you think he's going to be thinking when he's old enough to see this footage and realize that was his dad being tossed around like a rag doll by that wave?
Well, hopefully he doesn't want to actually go there, because, you know, if I was little, I'd be like, ooh, wow, I'm going to go do what Daddy did. So hopefully I'll be out there with him, watching him on a jet ski, or telling him not to go.
Yeah. Be safe. Be safe. Jake, we're happy you're okay. Be safe in the future. And Russell, great job, and what you did is amazing. So thanks to you for joining us as well.
Thank you.
Cheers.
All right, let's get a check of the weather.
Then 15 or more surfers are caught totally unaware. In slow motion, you can see Jake's green surfboard about to be sucked under.
I went up high on the lip, and it caught me, and it took me backwards. I knew I was in trouble.
Then a second giant wave makes his situation even more grave.
And the next wave completely obliterated me. Must have knocked me out.
Jake's surfboard bobs up with no sign of Jake. When he does finally surface, unconscious, rescuers race him to the shore on a jet ski. He's medevaced to the hospital, where he lay in a medically induced coma for 3 days. Jake is now recovering at his home outside Los Angeles. His mother, Debbie, can barely believe he survived.
That was a mother's worst nightmare.
But despite his brush with death, Jake says he can't wait to get back on his surfboard.
Coming up.